A new 5 win streak event for Pokemon Pocket to get that Emblem cosmetic is upon us, and today's video has my 7 favorite deck lists to give you the best chance of achieving that. That being said, even if you're playing one of these decks, keep in mind that even if your win rate was an incredible 80%, you're still only going to win 5 in a row, 1 out of 3 times. This event has some variance baked into it in a card game like Pokemon Pocket, so playing more is definitely going to be key for a lot of us who can't get lucky the first time. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? In my opinion, one of the best decks to take to the 5 win streak event is the Charizard Arcanine meta deck. Charizard EX has a good random stuff matchup where you just load energies up on this big Mamma Jamma and start blasting their board away. In the event that your opponent has a counter card like Mew EX, it enters our secondary game plan Arcanine, who in tandem with Giovanni can clean a Mew out in one shot. This deck list got pretty solid matchup tables into the more popular decks in the format, being favored against Gyarados, pretty dead even against Mewtwo, and just a little bit behind against Pikachu, while absolutely slam dunking the Celebi deck that tends to be popular in the random queues in my anecdotal experience. As far as customization goes, this Charizard Arcanine deck list is pretty locked in. You need 12 slots for your 3 Pokemon lines, and as far as your trainers go, Leaf and X-Speed are pretty important for maneuvering your Moltres out once you're ready to start attacking, and at least 1 copy of Giovanni is important so your Arcanine can clear out things like Mew EX. Pikachu EX is another fantastic top meta deck to approach the 5 win event with. Its namesake starts cranking out 90 points of damage very early and consistently, which runs a lot of the more random decks out of the format. Your ability to poke your opponent's backline with Zebstrika makes you incredibly favored into all of the decks running Drudagon as a stalling tactic, which especially includes Gyarados that can be quite popular. This deck list has a pretty good matchup spread past Duncan Gyarados, with Mewtwo and Celebi being pretty even, and your Charizard matchup being at least a bit favorable for you. This archetype also has a lot of customization options in it if you want to fine tune it to the decks that you really want to be beating, while DDN and Mythical Island Electabuzz are some of the more common things. You can play extra copies of Zapdos EX or even a Pinurchin if you're feeling spicy and want to be paralyzing your opponent more. The trainers in this deck list have a lot of flex as well, with X-Speed being the must-play one, and then how many copies of Giovanni, Sabrina, Potion, even things like Blue or Leaf being things that you can sub in and out depending on what your playstyle is with the deck. The third meta deck that I think is a great choice for the 5 win streak event is the Exeggutor EX Celebi deck. Exeggutor EX in particular I think is a phenomenal card to be playing in this style of win streak event because its ability to evolve early and start crunching for 80 points of damage is going to generate you some amount of free wins, which equals fast games, giving you more chances to play more games in a condensed period of time, increasing the odds that you hit that fortunate 5 win streak. Celebi's matchup table overall is pretty solid. So long as you're playing Exeggutor, you're relatively even into Gyarados, and you're slightly ahead against things like Mewtwo and Pikachu EX. The slightly more common decks that you're looking to dodge are the Moltres-powered Arcanine decks that can start burning down your board rather quickly and consistently. Similar to Charizard, there's not a ton of room for customization in this shell because generally speaking, you're playing 12 Pokemon. You want 2 copies of Erica alongside Research and Pokeball, which leaves us the 2 Sabrina slots in the sample list being your flexes. These can be Sabrina for utility as well as X-Speed or Leaf as the most common inclusions. The Fighting Box deck, i.e. Hitmonlee, Marshadow, and Farfetch, is another fantastic choice to play for the win streak event. If you especially like dominating the Gyarados matchup, being able to maneuver Hitmonlee and Farfetch in and out with X Speed and Leaf makes it so you can almost always KO a magic card before it gets evolved, and even in the games where it does actually get things together, you can often kick down that Gyarados a number of times so that by the time it gets to the active slot, Marshadow is ready and waiting to clean it out. This archetype also has the most customization options of any deck list that we're going to look at today. I personally am partial to playing a copy of Tauros as well as Mew EX as your extra utility cards. Tauros lines up phenomenally into Celebi, Pikachu, Arcanines, and Starmies, while Mew EX helps you cover the format's bigger hitters like Golem and Charizard and Mewtwo. Don't underestimate the power of this deck's early aggressive starts either. Farfetch'd in tandem with our 2 copies of Giovanni can scramble and execute before it gets a chance to evolve, and it can strike down a Staryu before Stormy ever has a chance to hit the board. Other common variation of this fighting archetype will get rid of Tauros, Mew, and 2 of your utility trainers to play Aerodactyl EX and the fossils it evolves from, while this swap makes you better in the fighting mirror matches and against more random things like Starmie. I think overall you're gaining those percentage points at the cost of making things like your Celebi and Mewtwo matchups considerably worse, leading me to prefer this build that's currently on your screen. Wiggly EX Exeggutor EX is a personal pet deck of mine that I think is an excellent choice for this event as well. Similar to like we talked about in the Celebi core, just having Exeggutor as one of your lead Pokemon leads to you getting a lot of pretty free wins, since when you have first evolution advantage, you'll evolve into it, and then if you hit heads, cracking for 80, you clear a lot of the starting Pokemon that opposing decks are playing, often winning the game on the spot. The powerful finishers that we're setting up behind Exeggutor give us a ton of play into all of the matchups where we don't get those early free wins. Wigglytuff EX is the epitome of the "so you're saying there's a chance" card in Pokemon Pocket, taking any game that looks dire and making it so you're just 1 or 2 coin flips away from getting it absolutely in the bag. Mew EX gives us a little bit of extra counterplay on top of it all into the big hitters in the format like Charizard and Mewtwo that are looking to blow us away in a single hit. Finally, my personal pet deck this season, Lumineon Stormy, while difficult to pilot efficiently, I think is a quite reasonable choice if you're practiced with it for the 5-win streak event. Your ability to attack opponents' backline means that you absolutely dunk on things like Gyarados or anything else looking to hide behind a Druddigon, and your fast Starmie starts, similar to Exeggutor or Pikachu, sometimes just completely run your opponents out of the game, giving you some free wins early, making your runs a lot shorter, giving you more chances to rack up 5 wins in a row. Something I like to call out in the wrap-up of today's video is you'll note that 2 of the metagame powerhouses, i.e. Gyarados, Greninja, and Mewtwo that I talked about being able to beat a whole lot, aren't in my recommendations for this event. The reason for this is relatively straightforward. They have pretty polarized matchup tables in key spots. The Gyarados deck gets run down by anything with Hitmonlee or Zebstrika, and the Mewtwo deck is absolutely abysmal against the Gyarados deck that I just mentioned. I think trying to find a deck that has a pretty even matchup spread gives you your best possible chance to get those 5 wins in a row. Imagine queuing up for your 4th or 5th game win and you hit a matchup that you know you're just 30% to win from the loading screen. It's incredibly defeating and deflating in my opinion. I'd also like to remind everyone as this video comes to a close that I mentioned at the beginning, even if you're an incredible player with a strong win rate at something like 80%, this is still an incredibly high variance event that you'd only 5-0 1 in 3 times. It's designed to get you to play more, to try and hit that good variance streak. So while you should try and play a good deck like one of the ones highlighted in this video and play it to the best of your ability, don't get discouraged if you don't get that 5-win streak right away, and make sure that you don't let trying to grind for this nominal cosmetic cause you to hate playing Pokemon Pocket, which is a game you should be playing for fun. As always, I appreciate everybody that made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed my musings or my deck recommendations today, please smash that like button. If you happen to be new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post roundups like this one to keep you on the top of in-game events. I do weekly metagame breakdowns of top tournament decks. I'm always highlighting different off-meta things that I'm playing in competitive settings here 7 days a week. I'd love to see you back again sometime. May your next pack be an excellent one.